Hello and welcome to AAA Wargaming. This is going to be the second of the battle reports from the team event held at Walsall. Apologies for the delay in the next video. Life is being pretty brutal at the moment, but here's another one. So this is on to round two, and we were against Team Newt, and I got paired against another Sylvan Elves player, but this time it was Josh Burns. So normally I don't get to play Josh because he's miles ahead of me on the tables. So yeah, so this is going to be another one that's going to be quite interesting. The deployment was refused flank, so cutting off half, going widthways, so corner to corner across the board, and it's something I think is a disadvantage to my list just because of the two sets of 10 Heath Hunters with bows, and I'll show you with his list what I thought. But and then King of the Hill in centre, and I initially thought this would be a disadvantage to me, and I thought I was going to have an uphill struggle. But actually, when we did the pairings for this list and we had a look at it, I said this is a green to whoever gets to go first, just because the shooting we have and the likelihood that will whittle us down to a reasonable manner, and then we can just go from there. But on with it. So this was the pairing. So we got Ed Murdoch double master against Ben, and Ben did very well against Ed. I think he got a 7 or something, but it was a really janky wild heart list. I think no magic. Yep. But yeah, Ben's Warriors did really well this list. Then another Anton against another Dark Dread Elves. I think he did okay. And then David against Warriors of the Gods. I can't actually remember that score. I I'll say what we finished with because it's relevant. It's quite funny at the end. But yeah, so yeah, on with that. So Josh's list was double strength with a master shamanism, two binding scrolls. I really like that setup. I just think it's really quite good. It's got lots of magic missiles, but also janky. I mean, that totemic summon is something that I was going to be quite annoyed with. He's gone for the Hunter's Honor, and it's something else I'm looking at again. I just wonder, now the points have come down, is this something that actually is something I'd rather have? Just that -1 to hit just makes them so much more survivable when they can't get the 3+ ages, especially when you pair it with some other stuff to make them hit on 5s from the word go. He had a general Pathfinder, and that was, yeah, just keep it in the center, dirt cheap. He's got a big unit of Sylvan Archers for that +1 altered sight off, and they've got Banner of Deception. He's got a scoring unit of Dryads, 15 Forest Guard with Sylvan Blades, 24 Forest Rangers, so we're pretty even on that. But they've got no Flaming Banner, so I was pretty happy with that. He's then got the 12 Blade Dancers with Flaming Standard. Now, this, yes, goes through my Healing Waters, but more importantly, Blade Dancers, and he's got double strength buffs, so they're going to be hitting. So they're going to be hitting on 2s against my Troop Fathers, and then wounding on 5s with a reroll, and they could be high AP or whatever. So that's going to be quite dangerous. And then his Chieftain would be wounding on 4s, so that's something that's going to be quite painful. He's then got 2 units of 3 Kesselright skirmishers with longbow, so good chaff. A little expensive to be thrown away immediately, but still got that shooting output. And then 2 sets of 9 Pathfinders. These are going to be really tricky for me just because he's both got that 2 scouting bit. So this is why if he didn't have the 2 Pathfinders, that would be, I was like, okay, it doesn't matter about who goes first, but those 2 units are absolutely lethal, especially with the number of magic missiles he can bring. My list, no change. So I looked at this and I went, it depends how I've got to play, but key to this, I still think of my Tree Fathers. I can use them to bounce around. He hasn't got that mobile punch in terms of Wild Huntsman. He's just got the Forest Rangers and the Blade Dancers, but they can't move 18 across the board. So I think they were going to be key to this, and also the Blade Dancers themselves. My unit is bigger, and with a bit of with my Chieftain, I think my Chieftain beats his Chieftain in combat. Especially with the Druidism spells on top that I can put there. So I was pretty happy with this. But it was going to be how I was going to protect my shooting if he got first turn. But I just didn't have an answer for it. I think I'm just going to have to see what happens. But if I get first turn, just look at it, I can get right in his face and I can go after those Pathfinders or other stuff, and then I can dominate the battlefield. So it was all going to be rounds up first roll to see pick sides. Which, if you look at this, is the terrain. I'll go to this first. So we had a wood here, we had a hill, we had a set of fields. That's his wood, and he ends up putting it there, and then we have an impassable terrain over here. I did point out to him that with my 2 tree files going, the shots become strength 5 AP2 if he put it there. So it started there and it moved slightly further back. And I think I put mine there just to give myself. No, in fact, I did. I left mine there to put myself some bit of cover. Right, he rolled. I beat him, so I got to pick this side, and I thought I will. So it means he's going first, and I think I went. He cheered, and I went no, and I turned to David, the captain, and went, yeah, I might lose this one. Sorry. And he said, "You haven't even rolled a dice yet." And I went, "Yeah, well, we'll see." It's very Silver Elves on a mirror match, I think now, especially with the armies, the amount of shooting that's coming up. But we'll see. Uh, and oh yeah, there's a wall on the left there. But I I chose this side just because I thought I can use the hill a bit. I want to put the impassable on his side just to narrow where he can go because he's quite a centralized army, and I can just keep him on one side. It means I can block off part of the board. And that was it. And I wanted the forest on my side just so I can make sure it's an advantage to me. It seems if he pushes, it also means I can push that towards the objective in the center, and just means it makes it quite dangerous for him. In terms of spells, the only difference I chose, instead of taking perception strength because I didn't really need it, I chose altered sight. And that was just if I needed to minus the shooting or combat ability on his forces, just to make sure that they're hitting on uh, 4s rather than 2, so 3s rather than 2s or something like that. But yeah, so that was the thing, and it just meant mine would hit better. I quite like that against elves. I did think about entwining roots with the woods in the centre, but I just thought he's so maneuverable. He can so easily sit outside that -1 or -2 to hit, and healing water and summer growth are going to be important here. He went for perception of strength and altered sight because of the big unit and my trees, and then he took. Oh, he didn't take break the spirit, but chilling howl, awaken the beast, swarm of insects, and totemic summon. The big one I was actually worried about was totemic summon. I've just got to let that stop. Otherwise, it's going to be going through my lines all the time and just being painful. Yeah, so he chose to obviously drop for first, and this was his setup. So he deployed his. What he's got here is he's got a unit Kestrel Knights behind this impassable terrain, so they can pop out either side. He's got a unit of Blade Dancers there with his Chieftain in. He's got the big unit of Archers behind with both his mages and his Pathfinder. No, sorry, his Pathfinder Generals in this unit. He's then got the Dryads, the Forest Rangers, and the Forest Guard there with the other Kestrel Knights finding his flank. So as you can see, I was right. He's very central, but he's got first turn. He's still got 2 scouts to put down. So this was my dilemma. Do I push? And this is where it actually gets quite annoying because he's got 2 scouts. I've only got 1. So if I put 1 down, he's got first turn. He can just put one of his Pathfinders next to him. And I didn't really know how. What I didn't want to do, I wanted to protect as much of my force as possible, but without sitting so far back and just letting him have the objective first turn. So what I decided to do was put the Blade Dancers in the wood in the centre, and then have a Tree Father on the left that could even dominate that side. I'd just like to point out those Sentinels aren't placed yet. So they're there. They weren't placed there. They ended up over there. And what I was thinking about was I could use the Tree Fathers on both flank and just leave this central area because he can't move into it because the Blade Dancers should do a lot of damage to whoever gets in there. I then decided to put my Forest Rangers on this side here, just so that they could move up onto the hill here and just dominate this whole area. So suddenly I can push him back from the main objective there. And also, it's not that hard to move up. Otherwise, I put my Dryads there so they could just follow the Blade Dancers behind and get within 6 inches. And same with the Heath Riders here, but I wanted to protect them, so I used the Heath Hunters. The Sentinels can't because they're scout. And then I put the Heath Hunters on this side because I thought this is an area he could block, and I just want, if he put Pathfinders down here, I just didn't want Pathfinders coming around my flank. So what happens in the end? So I was pretty happy with my deployment actually. I knew it was a bit bunched up. The only thing I wasn't happy with, and I'll say this after he dropped his Pathfinders, he dropped both his Pathfinders in the centre there, and I just thought, oh, that's not good. I was happy because I think then he's not going to go after my sentinels. He doesn't see them as a threat yet, and that's fine. I thought, oh, here's a problem here. My blade dancers are there. If he shoves everything at it, so both pathfinders, his kestrels, his big archer block, and his magic, luckily he hasn't got ice and fire, they're doomed. Like, I just cannot stand up to all of that. So what I did was I tried to draw him out a bit. So I tried to put them over on the right, and that was purely because I thought, okay, they're going to take some casualties and run off. But at least hopefully I can draw some of the pathfinders away, and then also put my heath hunters here and just see if I could draw some fire away from it. Because they're quite mobile and they can appear quite a big threat, especially in the short shooting war. I just wanted to see if I could save my blade dancers a bit because they were quite key to me being able to push forward my turn one. So that was it. So I was waiting for that first turn to see if he just shot off my blade dancers because I think I'd left them open for a bit. Sorry, that's vanguards. Obviously, you can see he moved one Kestrel unit out on the left, and then his right hand one, just the one on the right, as I'm looking at it, is just moved back a bit. It's just giving me a bit more space. So turn one. So what he's done there is he's moved. The key bits is he hasn't really moved his centre. So what I'm very happy with is his dryads, although close enough, are not are. If I push my dryads up, a blade dancer up there, and a tree father suddenly in there, they can't really come forward because those two units together will beat them, whatever magic they've got. So I'm pretty happy with that. I thought he'd move forward a bit more whilst my tree father can't engage, and he'd just have the blade dancers because I think the blade dancers on their own against dryads is a bit more dodgy. It's just a few dice rolls away from actually getting murdered. Um, Otherwise, he's kept one unit of blade dancers there, sorry, pathfinders there, and the other one he's moved back behind the kestrels. I think maybe to protect them from them and the heath hunters coming around the corner, and then he's just moved his other kestrel knights back. He doesn't need to use them as chaff yet, but otherwise he kept fairly central in this big bit area. So yeah, so he's got lots of range, but I'm pretty happy with that. Goes on to magic. He doesn't get totemic summon. Josh's magic was pretty poor throughout the game. It was very unlucky on him. Um, but in terms of shooting, he does shoot 5 of the Heath Hunters off between the Pathfinders and the Kestrel Knights. But because of the Banner of Discipline, I can't remember whether they passed or required it, but either way. So, but 5 of them gone. He's also shot 3 Sentinels off, so that would have been at long range, wood, hard target. So he's probably still hitting on 3s. So that was quite painful itself. Um, And then also, if you look at, and then he shoots 3 or 4 off on the left-hand pathfinders. What he doesn't do is target my blade dancers, so I was very happy. Plan worked. I did ask him afterwards, like literally after his shooting, after his turn, I went, "Why didn't you shoot the blade dancers?" And he went, "Oh, I didn't." He didn't see them as a threat at that, but I was like, "Yep, okay, cool, right." So my plan can go. So my plan, say, I pushed up quite aggressively on the right. I wanted to turn in between the Tree Father, the Sentinels, and the Heath Hunters. I want to kill those Kestrel Knights on the right. That's my big target there. I've moved the Forest Rangers up. It's a long charge for him. I'm on the hill, and now I'm dominating that centre bit there. So, and I've moved the Heath Hunters up to this side because I want to start plinking off things here. And I'm happy to leave them there. I can get in range of all the spells here. Healing Waters having an 18-inch range is now really good. You can see I've pushed my blade dancers forward to the edge of the woods, so they're still in cover, but they're and the tree father forward as well. Yes, he can move the kestrels around the side, but I'm not bothered. And it means I've got 2 scoring units here and for turn 2. So ultimately, he's got to move his pathfinders out of the way and bring his forest rangers and dryads forward to actually have an impact. But now, if he moves them in, he's got 2 units here. He can't really push them forward anymore because my forest rangers charge him in the flank. So I think I'm going to win the objective now, which is a shock. So, but I've managed to survive the first turn shooting better this time, and I've not rushed forward as I did against Craig. But I've done it in a sensible way. If I can kill these kestrels, I can start mucking about with his flank with my other tree father, and then it really is game on. In shooting, I kill 4 pathfinders off from this unit, and in magic, or was that magic? I did something. I think it was magic. Yeah, so I started pumping stuff like that through. His turn. Right. He is probably easier to explain from this one. He charged, so I'd shot one of them off, or one and a half of these off, because I've only got two wins each. He charged them. I fled with them because I didn't think a stand and shoot from 5 Heath Hunters was a good idea. He then redirected into the Sentinels, and now no more birds. So that was a bit of a shocker. I think he regretted that. He said, I shouldn't have shot there. Yes, they were hitting a lot, but I rolled a lot of 6s. And yeah, so now he's got no chaff on this side. I've got a tree father that you can just see poking out there on the right. And he's really got to start doing something about it, or he's got to start backing off. So it's the turn on the right. So he's dominant. I'd say he's still slightly more dominant in the centre, but actually it's a bit risky. But he can't push on the right, and that's where I can close it off. So what has he done turn 2? So he's turned it around. So the big bit here is he has stopped this. So I can't move my tree father around the side, I don't think, or I can, but he's not. He's trying to face me off there, and he's trying to push me onto that side there. So I can move out of there in that range or something like that. But what I can't do is then pump into the centre here, what he didn't want. I don't think he wanted me to do, which is good, because if he'd moved out right there, that's what I've got in my tree father, and then just turn 3 charging the Dryads. So he's kept me honest on this side, which is, yeah, fair one. Otherwise, he's moved both his Pathfinders behind to give himself some charge arcs in the centre, and he's getting ready to shoot me off and try and get some magic off. I believe he again fails Totemic Summon, but importantly, he's still not challenging for the objective. At this point, I know I'm going to win first turn. He's got nothing within 6 inches. So if I just get one unit there, and that's what the Heath Riders are there for, I win a objective marker. So this time he does. I probably shouldn't have mentioned the Blade Dancer. So this time he does start taking them off. So he rips apart the Sentinels. They're out of cover now, so just long range and hard target, and he kills 4 of them. But they pass their panic. I moved them forward partly just to keep them in range of the BSB because I thought that was more important. And then he's killed 4 of the Blade Dancers as well. So he's starting to whittling them down. My turn. So what happens here? I do what I say. So what I do is I rally my. So I've got no charges. So I rally my Heath Hunters and I push them forward into front, and they are basically bait. So if he charges them, they'll run that way, and then I counter charge and I win that fight between these two. So he knows that. It's just such an obvious bait. It's not even worth it. He could charge me with a forest guard, but I think there's every chance I kill them anyway. I've kept them narrow and left. I'm just going to start trying to plink off this unit here, start whittling a few down. Otherwise, I've left them on the hill just to give me a bit of range for the trap. I've moved my Sentinels out to the side here. There's a few units I want to get Summer's Growth off, and that's important. But otherwise, bigger imperative at the moment is just not to get shot at next turn. The unit is very much weak at the moment. Otherwise, I've where is that? Yep, sorry. Otherwise, I've moved my Heath Hunters back over here after I've moved my Heath Riders forward. So Heath Riders are now within 6 inches of that, and they will pick up the objective. So get me an objective point. Otherwise, I've left here. I didn't need to push, but maybe I should have shoved the tree farther forward at this point and just plonked him in front of the Dryads. But this unit here, actually, that's not. I had a look at it. I remember that. I had a look at it here, but that range there is really not that far. The thing I'd forgotten about, I think, because most of the models were over here, was this unit here, and that there's a flying chaff there is just quite dangerous. So I need to start thinking about that. But in essence, yeah. But otherwise, I was pretty happy at this point. I think I'd survived the first turn shooting. I was dominant in the centre. I had enough troops on this side just to start mucking around the forest rangers, so I was pretty happy. Doesn't look like I did a lot in magic. No, cool. It doesn't look like I had a big magic phase myself actually. So his turn. What he doesn't do any charges, but he realizes he can't just leave me with one unit within 6 inches of the objective because otherwise he's going to lose the objective. So what he's done, he's pushed the Dryads forward. He's pretty happy that they can take a charge. Um, he doesn't think they can't take a charge from both the Tree Father and the Blade Dancers, but it's just far enough that it might not happen. So he's got to take that risk. Otherwise, he's got to make sure he's lined up his archers so that they can shoot into the Heath Riders here. He can't leave them there because even with that unit there, I just move forward a bit more, and then the Dryads move within 6, and I still win the objective. And then he still can't do anything because I've got the Forest Rangers here. So, or I just bring them off the hill over to here. This is now a marker that he can't really deal with. So yes, he's blocked me off from coming around his flank here, but now I have an avenue to come this way, which is part of the plan. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's now shooting and magic. And let's see if I think these were definitely going to be his priority targets at this point. He needs to get rid of the chaff, and he needs well, my Heath Hunters, because they're just causing problems now. And he needs to get rid of the Heath Riders to allow him to actually have a turn at shooting. Yes, he does. That's me. A lot of shots. They were priority number one. The Heath Riders survived more than they did actually. He had to use an extra unit to shoot at them. I think it was the archers themselves, with altered sight, did not. No, it was the Pathfinders. The Pathfinders just didn't roll well to wound, so only killed two, and then the archers had to finish the others off with altered sight. So that's them gone. And then the other unit of Pathfinders, or was it? It was something like that, but they only killed four, which meant I still had a Heath Hunter, and they passed his panic check. So very happy there. Which is great because now I have a chaffing unit I can use to block the Forest Rangers while I do some shenanigans. Yes, that was it. So if you go back to here, he'd measured properly again. That's why we were doing this. At the moment, I could not move 10 inches and move out of arc of them all that way. So I was still, that's why the chaff there was quite key. Because now, that is what I do. I move this guy in here. So now they have to charge and they go that way. The Tree Father has come this way and to block off. And basically it's into there. Now this is what I thought. If I got both the Tree Fire and the Blade Dancers in there, that was game over. And I did think about this for a second. And I could have stayed off another turn. There was no requirement to go in there. I could have waited for this Tree Father to come round. But I think what I was concerned about is he still had this unit back here that could have chaffed anyway. But I had the Forest Rangers. I did not need to charge this turn, because it was a bit risky with the Tree Father. It was like I needed an 8 or 9, and only the Blade Dancers got in, but not the end of the world. But due to that, I had to bring my general and his unit forward just so I could start pressuring really hard, because the unit I was really scared of was not actually these Forest Rangers, was the Dryads, if they get buffed a bit, and the Blade Dancers coming in with the Chieftain. I didn't really have anything to deal with them anymore. My shooting was starting to get degraded, always the wrong side of the board. So I had these units here, and I just wanted to start whittling them down. They'd become my priority, just so that when they come in, they didn't have as many attacks. Otherwise, I've brought the Dryads and the Forest Rangers. They're both within 6 inches, so I'm winning the objective this turn no matter what, unless all my army runs away. So I'm still pretty happy. In terms of magic, I get off Forest Embrace and the Blade Dancers so that they are at least safe, and then but I didn't get any other spells off apart from Ache and Throne. So it was a bit of another magic was a bit of a fluff this game. Like we really didn't have that much big an impact, if I'm really honest. Um, Other than that, shooting. So shooting. I shot a few more of the Forest Rangers, so you can see I'm starting to whittle them down. So the Sentinel shots are starting to take effect, and they're getting quite a small unit. So potentially, I could charge them in there. That is a very tempting unit. In terms of his turn, he's charged the Heath Hunter, so that's that gone. And then he's also, sorry, we should go back to this combat here. In the centre, I think I didn't choose the 3+ ages, so I wanted to kill as many as possible. Oh, correction. No, I did choose the 3. Yeah, and also I wanted to save it when these came in. Now, what I should have done is I should have moved my BSB over to the left-hand side, because when he charged in here, then I could have just gone after his BSB. I didn't, so now it's me against the Dryads. There's a lot of combat res in there, and it just means that Yeah, it's going to be tricky. So this is the score. I Other than that, what he did bring is these are finally brought in. So these are blocking me off here. So my forest rangers can't come into the flank there. So I'm going to have to go down this way, and it just screws up my battle line. He's brought his forest guard forward to start threatening for the objective, and he'll probably rally them as well. My tree father's got a bit of a interesting decision at the moment because they haven't popped their flaming banner, and I really don't want to. I really don't want to mess around with them. That BSB with a flaming banner and double strength buff, it's just not worth it. So next one. So that was it. Otherwise, in shooting, he goes after these two units, so he kills about 3 of the Heath Hunters and 4 of the Sentinels. So I'm starting to think at this game maybe I should run them away. In fact, do I run them away? I don't know. Maybe they did die because we certainly added the points up. Anyway, um, then combat. So because I think I challenged. It was something weird, but I'd messed up and we'd realised. But if you look on the picture on the right, my BSB is in the bottom there and ran away. Didn't take a wound, failed his leadership check, ran away, and was not caught. So I think Josh chose not. No, he rolled really low or something like that. So I think he overran with the Dryads. They rolled really low, and now my BSB is behind the Tree Father. So that's really good for me. So he's a big amount of points. He's worth more than the unit with the 200 points. So I'm still pretty happy with that. And now my Tree Father is there. The big problem is, do I charge into them? Because they've got at least one strength buff. So they'll be wounding on 5s with a reroll. And they've got that BSB in there. I probably should have gone in, actually. In all honesty, I had 5 wounds still. I could have used magic to support. Yeah, I probably should have gone in, I think. Yeah, right, so spoiler alert, I didn't go in. So what happens was, in my turn, I do charge this Tree Father into the Dryads. So he charges them in the flank. This Dryad and the Forest Rangers charge the Kestrels and beat them up, and they run here. In terms of shooting, what I've done is I'm pretty sure I moved my Heath Hunters back, and I moved them back as well. I just wanted to be out of range so I could still shoot the Forest Rangers and get away. My Forest Rangers I've brought will then realign here, and other than that, I've just kept shooting into the Forest Rangers themselves. My Dryads are still scoring, so the objective is definitely mine. I rally my BSB and I'm sitting behind the Tree Father. I think this is why I didn't charge forward because I couldn't move him and I wanted to protect him a bit from that. What I was expecting, it also meant with this, he couldn't charge me, but what I didn't see was he could charge them, and that's really dangerous because even with healing waters up at the moment, a flaming banner there is just goes straight through it. Oh, so I messed up a little bit there. Otherwise, with shooting, he really had basically one target. He just had to shoot the tree, bring the tree down, and try and kill it off with his that. Um, but otherwise, I was feeling happy until about this, and then I went, "Oh, okay. You're charging my forest rangers, are you?" I think Blade Dancers win that fight. So, yeah, this. So we said this was going to be our last turn 5. Yeah. So I think if I'd angled my Tree Father better, I could have started on the bottom here. I could have done so. Maybe in turn 6, I did have this guy angled this way, ironically. So he could charge in there. That could have made a big difference. I've still got magic support, so I can still do Summer's Growth. So this became a bit of a punch up between my Summer's Growth and his ability to kill me. I only killed a few of them, but I was whittling them down. I think turn 6 it would have been quite interesting. In turns 5, he shoved his Cosmo person out in front of me and then just blatted me away. And I think he only did 1 wound, 2 wounds, if that. He's moved his Forest Rangers away because he's seen my plan to take the unit out between this, possibly even move that round to shoot at the magic and the shooting I have here. This unit, did they die? That's interesting. Maybe they did die or didn't. Okay, I think I've messed up some of the points here. Anyway, so either way, we and then he's got these 2 units back here. So yeah, he only takes 2 wounds. I'm pretty sure. Yep, 1 wound. Sorry. And then in my turn, uh, as you can see, what happened was I got healing waters off again, but it didn't matter. I summer's growth this lot in my turn, and then he killed all the people I summer growth again. But it meant I'm steadfast, and it's pretty good. This one, I managed to kill a few more of them, but not enough to cause to get below. I think they did get below 25%, or didn't. No, I don't think I did. It's been that long, and I really should because I'm not quite sure why we added up the Tawny Keeper points the way we did. Because I thought I'd kept both Heath Hunter's unit alive, but actually I'm not so convinced. Anyway, but in short, this combat kind of screwed me up on the right a bit. Because I think there was a dice roll where it was my turn to roll some bad dice, and it just happened to be on the wound rolls or to hit rolls. But effectively, I just pillow fighted it, and then I think he had the 3+ Aegis up saved by this point and just went through everything. So I just couldn't get anything through. In terms of should I have charged the Tree Father into the Wizard? Did I kill the Wizard? Sorry, I'll ignore it. Let's move on. So in essence, that was the 2 points. I killed both the Kestrel Knights units, and I did for the Dryads and added up. And then we go on to my score, and you look at 2,032 points there, and that doesn't quite add up. And I think what I did, and this is me, so it wasn't Josh, but it was all me. I added in the BSB, which, if we remember, survived. So it's a bit silly. So I've killed one of my own models. So the end result was 13-7. I just bled too many points to his shooting at the end there between the Heath Hunters and just the Blade Dancers getting caught out in the open. It just didn't work. It shows how dangerous Pathfinders are. You lead them on for 6 turns. It doesn't matter how big the unit is; they are going to take points. And in essence, I just couldn't. But on the plus side, I dominated the objective, so that was really good, and that allowed me to push it back, and it's something I got 10-10 for. I, I can't remember whether I did kill the. Did he kill the BSB? I don't think he did. Oh well. Either way, the funny side of this is that I think the points actually were about maybe 2 points difference. But more funny is the fact that we lost to Team New 38-42, which possibly could have made it a draw. So to Spiky Extravaganza, I'm really sorry. Otherwise, it was a really fun game. I think we were both surprised how close it was in the end, especially after Josh won first turn. It really is one of those things with Silvernails where, yeah, Silvernails mirror match where you're both quite shooty and bit combatty, where first turn really does matter. But yeah, no, we had a good game. He was quite swingy. I think, yeah, Josh played it really well, especially with my Tree Fathers running around. It shows why he's on top tables and just having to manage them. And I probably should have been a bit more aggressive, or delayed a turn and then been uber aggressive later. But coulda, shoulda, woulda. It was still a really good game, and much better than game one because I now have 10 points. I am on the scoreboard. So that is game 2. So this is Hobby Corner. So it's a second of our battles. This is David's ID army. It's a beautifully painted army, like all his are. If anyone saw his Ascalanders at the Art of War, it's a real treat. This is his more traditional one. I'd like to point something out. I think he painted this unit here in days. This model he painted his adept wizard in about a morning. Yeah, I think he said he painted it in Thursday morning. It really is like another class compared to me, because that would take me weeks. It's really annoying that I'm that slow at painting. But yes, otherwise it's a beautiful army. And yeah, he put it up on the board. I love the cannon where you see all the flame coming out. I think that'd be really cool if I did it to the dragon. Something I really like. So this bit here, this thing on his Infernal Bastion unit. This is a Vermin Swarm feminist dictator, the old demon lord, vermin lord thing, head. But it's actually magnetized. I've always said that you should have a different like monster head for each army, and every time you play a different army, you should change the head over just to make it more themed. But he's got a lot of painting and modeling to do for that, I'm afraid. So, but otherwise, yeah, fantastic, uh, fantastic game and a fantastic army to show. So thank you very much for listening to AAA Wargaming, and hopefully I'll get the next battle report out a lot quicker. Hope you all have a good weekend. Bye.